So what if you didn't take the survey yourself? You may be asking, what type of people did complete the survey? Let's take a moment to review the demographics of our survey respondents. 70% of respondents were from other countries. Nearly 90% of those born outside the U.S. were from Mexico. Approximately 75% of the respondents were female. Over 65% of the respondents had at least one child. 77% of the respondents were less than 45 years old, with the largest age group being between the ages of 30 to 44 years old. Most of the respondents had low levels of education, and only 17% had obtained a four-year college degree. Furthermore, 70% of respondents earned less than $40,000 a year. Lastly, 67% of respondents completed the survey in Spanish. So to recap, survey respondents had the following characteristics: primarily immigrants from Mexico, mostly women with children, relatively young, less than 45 years old, low educational attainment, low income wage earners, and Spanish speakers. Let's now focus on the specific sections of the Voices of Change report. We asked survey respondents to share their views on their overall quality of life. We chose the following quality of life areas to be consistent and to provide further research connected with our Silicon Valley Latino report card. They were education, health, financial stability or jobs and income, housing, and the environment. In general, we found that nearly 90% of respondents showed favorable opinions on their quality of life by selecting great, good, or okay. In addition, on this question, we compared respondents according to their family income. We found that higher income respondents were more likely to view their quality of life less favorably. We also asked respondents to share their top issues. We found that education was selected as the top issue nearly twice as often as the second highest ranked issue area called jobs and income. On the opposite end, few respondents rated the environment as their top issue. We also found that respondents' top issues varied according to education levels. For example, respondents with less than an 8th grade education were twice as likely to select the issue of health as their top issue, compared to respondents with a bachelor's degree or higher. Respondents with a 4-year college degree chose education as their top issue. Lastly, we found that Latino immigrants were slightly more likely to rate the environment as their top issue compared to US-born Latinos. Those are the observations we've made from respondent survey on questions related to their quality of life and their top issues. I want to welcome our first commentator, council member and former mayor of Redwood City, Alicia Aguirre, to get her insights on what we've shared thus far with you. Councilmember Aguirre, let me first thank you for this opportunity to personally thank you for your support of our foundation's efforts to expand our programs into San Mateo County and the city of Redwood City. As you reviewed the survey, respondents, how they rated their quality of life, was there anything that stood out to you in those ratings?
You know, Ron, thank you for having me here and representing San Mateo County and Redwood City. Probably the thing that stood out for me when it rated the quality of life was how happy the Latinos are. Actually, they are almost 90%, as you mentioned, rating it great or good. My concern perhaps would be, does being happy or being content mean complacent? In other words, we're in a good place, and so we don't need to do more. And that would be my only concern out of that result that stood out for me.
Mm-hmm. Are they saying that we're in a good place or we're in a better place than we used to be?
And that's another, definitely that's another way of looking at it. So when you compare where they've been, perhaps, and if we're talking about the immigrants, then maybe this is a much better place.
Yeah. Now, you saw the results of the respondents rating the issues that are important to them: education top, environment at the bottom, several in between. How does that compare with your experience in talking with Latinos in Redwood City or San Mateo County, or for that matter, Silicon Valley? Do you find the ratings pretty consistent or not at all consistent with what your experience?
I think the ratings were very consistent to what's happening in San Mateo County. Perhaps one that would go right after education in San Mateo would be housing, because I think it's a little more expensive than Santa Clara. So the folks that I see living 20 to an apartment and trying to find affordable housing probably would rate that a little bit higher.
So that's a very important issue, the area of housing. We know that with the economy now returning to be a very strong, in a very strong position, we're seeing now the demand on housing. Has that intensified the issue with Latino families living in overcrowded conditions in Redwood City or San Mateo County?
It has very much intensified. I have school principals calling me up and saying, what can we do? 38 Latino parents just left our school, and they're going to the Valley and they're going to other places because they cannot afford to live here. And a lot of that has to do with the displacement of, workers, because other companies are coming in. Redwood City is very, it's called the Peninsula Hub of Silicon Valley. The startups are huge there. We have a lot of companies there that are flourishing, so it has displacement issues for housing.
Great. Now, you're a city official. You're part of a leadership group for both the city of Redwood City, and I know your leadership expands beyond city limits to the region, the San Mateo County. In the area of housing, I know that this is an issue that has again become a top issue for elected officials. What's Redwood City, what's San Mateo County trying to do in the area of affordable housing, given the limitations you have in terms of funding?
We're working really close together with all our housing programs and organizations, rebuilding together a lot of heart to try to make sure that we are incorporating the needs, not only through those organizations, but with developers. And so what we're working on is a plan that would, it's a community benefits plan, so that when developers are coming into the cities, it's like, what do we need to do to make the city better? Not just building high income or market housing, but higher income, but lower income as well, so that we meet the needs of the folks that are actually doing all the work. And now we're starting a plan to do what's called the mother-in-law units, and we're looking at how do we make it the process easier so that folks can build on their property and build these units to support other folks that need to live in the area. And that's one that we're tackling immediately.
Great, great. Well, thank you for adding your thoughts and your perspectives on the issue today. And we're going to also have you back with us later in the program. But again, thank you for your leadership in the city of Redwood City and in San Mateo County. Next, we will discuss the highest rated quality of life area, education.